Hey everybody, welcome to another 10-minute Marvel video. I'm Petter, and today, we're diving in and considering again kind of the likelihoods of who some characters might be. Because I think there is still an interesting question to it, and I wanted to touch on the teen first, followed by Rio. Because the teen, we got kind of some more information about it. And it was an interesting episode 4, with how Agatha was handling the teen. I'm not sure, and I actually think this is maybe one of the little bit weaker parts of the series, is I don't think they have set up kind of Agatha's mindset as to why she was thinking the teen potentially was Nicholas Scratch. Why she was thinking, okay, is this teen my son? Obviously, with the sigil, and they explain more about the sigils now, is that she's thinking, okay, I don't know who this is. Who would be so obsessed or so connected with me? And it makes sense she's thinking Nicholas Scratch that way, especially when she talks about how sigils work. Sigils basically are a spell that a witch puts on somebody, and it can't be dispelled. It is broken. It is destroyed when the spell is no longer needed. And so even the witch who casts that sigil doesn't know that they cast it. That's why they kind of talk about it as being sloppy. Witches generally don't use it, because that if you use it, you don't even remember that you used it. There's now just this kind of blank hole of this moment in your head, and you won't be able to recognize whoever it is. And I think that's why Agatha was considering the teen potentially to be Nicholas Scratch. However, Rio's character basically says, no, it's not who you think it is. It's not who you're hoping it to be. Which now, actually, just a little side tangent, makes me think it's more likely that Agatha has been down the road. I think she made a deal, probably with Rio. They were doing something together for gaining dark power, and Nicholas Scratch was sacrificed. And so Agatha went down the road to be able to get her heart's desire of getting Nicholas Scratch back. I went through kind of a theory on this in a video on Tuesday, before episode 4 came out, because I think it feels like it's playing with that. It feels like it's playing with Agatha that way and her emotions. So this all then makes the teen feel a little bit more like the teen is going to be Wiccan. That the soul was sent out by by Wanda, as she dispelled the hex into the teen, into Billy Kaplan. And now she also put a hex, or put the sigil on the teen to basically keep her from truly remembering it, but also to keep the teen hidden and kind of keep the teen safe. Which would explain it helps explain a little bit with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, because if Wanda doesn't really remember that she saved Billy and Tommy, then there would be more motivation for her to be spending time trying to get them, where she's like, it's not fair. So I think that's just a little interesting piece about kind of why I think the teen is Wiccan. But the bigger one is Rio, Aubrey Plaza's character. And Rio, if you listen to our podcast last week, on episode 3, I kind of made the argument for why I think Rio might be Death. And one of the things that we said in there was, if Rio appears basically coming out of where Sharon Davis was buried, then it kind of feels like she was able to come through because of Death. Now, and because she is Death, Death has happened along the Witch's Road, she's able to break through. I do think they did a really interesting thing here, though, with that, because while Rio does show up in episode 4, and she does come from where Sharon Davis was buried, that she is summoned. I put quotes around summoned because I'm not completely convinced that she is summoned. They're basically like, hey, we don't have a green witch anymore. One of the trials is going to need an earth witch, and our earth witch, Sharon Davis, just a green thumb person, is dead. So they go to summon somebody else to the Witch's Road. And the summoning looks like it's supposed to happen in a very specific spot. There's this body kind of patch cleared out on the road where they stand and summon, but nobody appears there. Rio instead appears from where Sharon Davis was buried. And when she's questioned, they're like, oh, so you're a green witch. So Jennifer and Alice and Lilia talk to her about that, and she's like, oh yeah, I'm a green witch. But more than that, I'm the green witch. It's like this weird, creepy voice that she does there, and it's very much a kind of off-putting sort of thing. And I like that. I also like that there's this seductive element to what Rio is as well, which I think leans kind of into this theory of death. First off, in mythology, there's this idea of the green man, this idea of kind of this being over death and rebirth and kind of like new life from death. As decay and all of that happens, new life can spring forth, which feels kind of like what we were getting with Rio appearing from where they buried Sharon Davis. So I like that element to it, and it maintains kind of this idea that this idea of the green witch, or of this kind of green power, of this natural element for Rio, for death, if that is who Rio is playing, because she is now kind of twisting herself into this this enjoyment of death and rebirth that we see just in this element. And then there's more evidence too, I think, that she's potentially death in this episode, because we get to see her now kind of talk to Agatha. And Agatha, they're in the broadcast studio. Agatha hits the intercom button to be able to speak to like the recording part of the studio, and everything is said over there. And basically she calls out how Agatha most likely wants the power and wants to drain these people of their power and leave them dead. And she gets something out of that. She gets something out of the death that happens. So it seems like kind of death collecting souls, which I think is a really nice kind of element and twist upon it. And if you're not familiar, in comics, death is a character. Death is, much like in Thor, Love and Thunder, we have love. We have the idea of eternity as a character. All these are characters within Marvel Comics, death actually is the reason why Thanos does the snap in Infinity War to kind of impress Death. Doesn't work. I believe Deadpool marries Death at one point in time because, of course, and I like the fact that they might be tying that in, and it could be something interesting that continues to play forward, especially with the rumors that Aubrey Plaza might be showing up in future projects. And there was one thing that I had. Oh yeah, and I wanted to talk a little bit about. No, I think I wrapped it up there. I think I covered everything I wanted to on those two characters. I feel like we're kind of honing in on who they could be, and Marvel is giving us a really nice kind of focus viewpoint as to why those characters may be who they are. It does ask some questions about maybe who Nicholas Scratch is. Still think his soul is trapped in the rabbit. I think that Agatha maybe knew that. Maybe it's connected to that. But I really enjoy that element of it. Let me know your thoughts on these theories down in the comment section below. Do you think they're right, wrong? Otherwise, any additional evidence that you have for them being right, wrong, or otherwise. And if you enjoyed this content, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate everybody who has been watching all these videos. And if you want to check out kind of our full conversation over on this, we have our 10-Minute Marvel podcast. It comes out every Tuesday. This next week we'll be talking about episode 4 of Agatha All Along, obviously. Big topic for the week, as well as then we cover news and rumors and stuff like that. You can find the podcast here on YouTube. Click onto the channel and then the podcast tab, or you can find the podcast wherever you get your friendly neighborhood podcasts from. But with that, see you next time.